It's Monday morning. I got wood. Let's start framing and build a house. Welcome to Texas Coastal Construction. All right, my name is Jason, so welcome to video 2 on this vlog, this docu-series on how to build a beach house with a finished floor of over 23 foot above sea level. But before we start framing, there is some steps that we need to walk through because we have to cut these pilings. So it's important to know how to do that. So if you look up here for our piling layout, you're going to see type 1 and type 2. So in my last video on pilings, in video 1 of this series, I went through a whole slew of steps that needed to happen after the pilings were installed, but before we can start framing. So again, check out the link below to that video. And one of those things, and possibly the most important part of that, was what is called our piling nail survey or our piling benchmark. What that survey does is it gives us a fixed line above sea level on that piling so that we can measure off of. So on our piling, you will see we have a piling benchmark set at 12 foot. That means that that mark is 12 feet above sea level. And so now we know that our goal for our finished floor is 23.6 above sea level. And we know that our goal for our bottom of stringer is 21 foot 6 inches above sea level. Again, we are adding an extra 6 inches to make sure that we meet those requirements. Again, I refer you back to video 1 in this series. So if we know that that mark is 12 foot above sea level for our type 1 pilings, we can measure up 11 foot 6 inches, and that allows us, and that's where we cut that piling. Now, the same thing goes for our type 2 pilings. Our type 2, they are the ones that are in the middle, all right? So we know that our goal for our bottom of stringer is 21 foot 6 inches. So that means on our type 2 pilings, our flush cut needs to be at 22.6. So we measure up 10 foot 6 inches, and that is where we make our flush cut for all of our type 2 pilings. So our type 1 pilings will be 12 inches higher than our type 2 pilings. So if you look up here, I'm going to show you, this is our engineering plans for our stringers. We have 3 rows of stringers that run horizontally. That's where our type 2 pilings will go. So what happens is we need to notch down 12 inches. So that way our stringers, because our 2x12s will sit right in here on our stringers. And then that's when they get bolted in. So that is why our flush cut needs to be 1 foot higher than our goal for our bottom of stringer, because in our type 2s, we need to cut down, well, it's not exactly 12 inches, but the width of a 2x12 down. So where, and then this number here, that is your bottom of stringer. This is day 6 on how to build a coastal house that's more than 23 feet up in the air. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is we need to mark our type 1 pilings. The last thing we want to do is cut one thinking it is a type 2 and have it be too short. So we have our back 2 rows of type 1 pilings marked. And we have our front row marked. So our scaffolding is almost up, and this is a really good time to go over some nuts and bolts, literally. One really important thing when building on the coast is that every single nail, bolt, nut, and screw has to be what is called hot dip galvanized. They're a little bit more expensive, but they absolutely do not rust. And with the Gulf of America literally 2 blocks from here, that is really important. So what can I say? I like big bolts, and I cannot lie. These are the bolts that will be used to attach our pilings to the house. They're 18 inches long, 3/4 of an inch wide, and they are hot dip galvanized. The same thing with our nails. Every single nail that goes on this build is going to be hot dip galvanized, and they all have to be a specific length and width as approved by our engineer. So we just cut this piling. Let's take a closer look and see what we just did. So you see the caution tape, that means it's a type 1 piling. And you can see that blue line right there, that they shot a laser from our piling nail. So that blue line is 12 foot above elevation. So now we have a measuring tape all the way up to our flush cut. Let's check our height. Our type 1 flush cut is right on the money at 11 foot 6 inches. It is day 7 of construction, day 2 of framing. Let's check our progress. So now you can really start to see the difference between the type 1 piling and the type 2 piling. When notching pilings, it's important to know that you can never notch them more than 50%. And so now you see where our stringers run with the pilings, they sit in those notches. And then our floor joists then will sit on top of our stringers. All right, well, they did well. So you can see all of our pilings are cut, and you can really see the difference now between the type 1 and the type 2 pilings. They're starting to run our stringers, and they're starting to install these guys. These are called lollipops. This is a lollipop. A lollipop is a treated board, either a 2x6 or a 2x8. If you want to use 10x10 pilings, then you use a 2x6. If you use 12x12 pilings, then you use a 2x8. They cut these into 24 inches, and they go in between the stringers. And then what they do is, you see how they run along the stringers? Our floor joists then get nailed into these. Okay, so it's been 2.5 days, and despite being down a couple guys from being sick, we're making pretty good progress. All of our pilings have been cut, they've been notched, most of our stringers are in, most of our bolts are in, and we have the beginnings of a subfloor. And you can really start to see how the whole floor system comes together with the type 1 pilings working with the type 2 pilings. So the next step is they will look at the plans, and there are some spots on the subfloor that need doubles, triples, quadruples, or specialty beams. So they will go and they will install those. And by the end of the day tomorrow, we will have a completed subfloor. But one really important thing, and I pointed it out earlier, is the areas where the joists overlap. Have you ever seen a long board that warps over time and it gets that almost like a hockey stick look at the end? Well, these boards do that often. So where those boards overlap, a lot of the times the framers, they'll nail on each end of those boards. But we need to go up there after all the floor joists are in, but before the subfloor is in. We need to go up there and we need to check every single place where those boards overlap. So then any place that's even remotely questionable, or we think we might need a few more nails, we could just ask our framers. But a lot of times it's just as easy and to install these guys. These are 3-inch heavy-duty stainless rust-proof deck screws. You see, they're huge. They have the diamond head. This is the easiest way to avoid a warranty issue, a subfloor issue, a year or two down the road. Because all it takes is for one board to not be nailed quite right, and then next thing you know, that board's pushing up like that on the subfloor, and next thing you know, you have an annoying massive hump right in the middle of your hallway of your house. It's a lot easier to make sure you're here to insert a couple screws than to deal with that 2 years down the road. It is day 9 in construction, the morning of day 4 of framing. All of our floor joists are in, all of our doubles, triples, quadruples, and beams are in. So now let's take a look. This is what will eventually be our AC platform. And the cool thing about these is you can see how our 2x12s are built into our floor system. They're installed in what is called a cantilever. You can see how they run all the way through and back. So then the weight of the AC is then offset by the house. So you can see an overview of our floor joists, and over here they started installing our subfloor. But the main area of concern is these guys here. You can see our doubles, you can see our triples, you can see some of our beams. But where those areas overlap, we need to make sure that we get them screwed in. Especially areas like this. You see where we cut that board? That was a single board that was extended about 18 inches. Those are the kind of ends that often warp. So I'm going to go through and inspect board by board, and I'm going to add screws as needed. So boards like this is an excellent example of what I'm talking about. You have one single 2x12, not nailed to a lollipop, and it's only nailed right down there a little bit at the bottom, and it runs the entire length of the floor joist. So I took a piece of 5/8 inch radius board, and it fit perfectly in that opening. And you can see where I screwed it in from the top at an angle and also from the sides. That quick little fix could possibly have saved us thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars in floor repairs within the next year or two. I got all of our overhangs and all of our joists screwed together. I was a little bit more liberal than what I needed to be, but I was up here and I was doing it anyway, so better be safe than sorry. So now all my framers have to do is glue and screw down the subfloor, and by the end of the day today, we will be through our second major hurdle when it comes to building this house, getting to our finished floor. Our next step is ordering what is called our mid-elevation certificate. I'm going to call my survey company. They're going to come over here and they're going to shoot the height of this finished floor above sea level. This is a great way to check all of our heights, check all of our measurements, and to make sure that the house that we are building meets all of our flood zone requirements. So I want to thank you all for taking time to watch this video. If you found it interesting, maybe a little bit of it informative, give it a thumbs up, give me a like, and if you want to join us for the entire process on how to build a coastal house with a finished floor of more than 23 foot above sea level, hit that subscribe button. On our next video, we're going to attack our third hurdle, which is going from a finished floor to our clip and strap inspection. So I'm going to let my framers work for about 3 days, and then we're going to check back in, and when we do, there's going to be a house here. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Texas Coastal Construction. Y'all have a blessed day.